What's going on, everyone? So, top 50 films of the decade, 2010 to 2019, part 2. That's right, there was a first part. If you didn't get the memo, this is part 2. Part 1 was where I essentially broke down my number 50 pick all the way down to my number 26, ending on 26, where part 2 I'm going to be beginning on number 25 and ending on number 1. Now, I said this in my previous video, but this is how I did the rankings. I got all my number 5 picks together, put them in a pile, ranked all my number 5s, put all my number 4s in a pile, ranked them, put all my number 3s in a pile. You get the gist. So that's how I did it. Also, saying this right off the bat, if I talked about these movies in depth, I'd be here till probably midnight. But alas, I don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to quickly, name the movie and then, get on to the next choice. So if you guys have any questions about my choices, comment section down below. That's what it's there for. So, with all that exposition out of the way, let's get started with my number 25. My number 25 is Call Me By Your Name. Luca Guadagnino's movie that takes place in Italy. It is a breakthrough for LGBTQ movies, but not only that, because it broke into the mainstream with being such a genre, but it's also a movie that, again, it made me want to go to Italy, and I think it's such an impactful movie. What an incredible movie. Movies need to be like this. That's my number 25. My number 24 is The Favorite. Whilst probably my favorite Yorgos Lanthimos movie, I understand why some people might not like this movie. I personally love this movie. It's incredible filmmaking. It's Barry Lyndon meets All About Eve. Yeah, I know. Meets Mean Girls. I know, right? It works, though. It's incredible. Easily one of the best movies. Love it. That's my number 24. My number 23 is a movie that really impacted me in 2016, and even to this day, I still remember watching it for the first time in theaters, and that is Arrival. Arrival was a movie I needed in 2016. It's a movie that came out right after the summertime, and the summer of 2016 was terrible for movies. I was kind of thinking, wow, why do I like movies when movies are being this bad? But then a movie like Arrival came along, and it floored me. The twist, Denis Villeneuve's directing, the acting, I know. I could talk about this movie all day, but alas, I'm not going to. So that was, of course, my number 23. My number 22 is my favorite action movie, honestly, of all time, The Raid 2. Yeah, that's right. I absolutely love The Raid 2. The Raid 2 is a movie that I love showing to people, just seeing their reaction of the brutal, visceral filmmaking that's on display. I think it's a movie that, yes, it's not for everyone because not everyone likes action movies, but if you're on the wavelength of in the mood for an action movie, it doesn't get much better than this. This is action filmmaking at its finest. As of right now, again, my favorite action movie. Need I say more? So that is, of course, my number 22. My number 21 is Ex Machina. What can I say? Alex Garland's directorial debut really hit me in the cerebral center. I think it, one of the best science fiction movies of the 2010s, period. Maybe of all time. Yes, I'm going that far, of all time. Ex Machina is a simple premise, but the way it's gone about, it's done in a very, very well done way. And I absolutely love this movie. And that is why it's my number 21. So yeah, that was my number 21. My number 20 is You Were Never Really Here. I absolutely love You Were Never Really Here. The thing is with You Were Never Really Here is that it's 90 minutes of Joaquin Phoenix being the best version of Joker. This came out first. I honestly think that this is a movie that is a lot better than Joker. From Joaquin Phoenix's performance to the tone to the messages. This movie came first, and honestly, when I saw Joker's trailer the first time, I was like, You Were Never Really Here too? It's a much better movie. I think Joker's a fine movie for sure, but when you watch You Were Never Really Here for 90 minutes, you're bolted to your seat, and you just can't look away. It's a great movie. This is why I go to the movies. So that, of course, is my number 20. My number 19 is Best Picture winner, 2017, The Shape of Water. That's right, everyone. I absolutely love The Shape of Water. I know some people give it flack for it not being the best movie of 2017, but it was my second favorite movie of 2017. I absolutely love this movie. It's a great fusion of different genres, and I think it works in every single genre, personally. Also, the rewatchability value is a lot here. I mean, yeah, all these movies are, but holy cow, Shape of Water. Whew. My number 18 is Uncut Gems. In terms of Safdie brother movies, I like Uncut Gems more than Good Time. Good Time, don't get me wrong, is a very well-crafted movie, but at the end of the day, Uncut Gems, I think, is light years better. I think with what it does with Adam Sandler's character and even the people surrounding him, it's really awesome to see, honestly, because it shows it in a very intense, visceral way, but also anxiety-inducing way that seems accurate to what the environment would be. Also, that ending, really impactful, I think, personally. And for me, I love it when a movie has those kind of endings where it's like, whoa, I was not expecting that coming. And I didn't expect it coming, to be honest. I thought it was very surprising. So that was, of course, my number 18. My number 17 is, yes, I know it's an action movie, and yes, I know it's higher than Raid 2, but my number 17 is Mad Max Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road I absolutely love. I do like the Raid 2 more, but again, when it comes down to it, Mad Max Fury Road was my number, was it? Yeah, it was my number 2 favorite movie of 2015. Versus the Raid 2 was my number 3 favorite movie of 2014. So because of that, this being in the 2 pile, the Raid 2 being in the number 3 pile, that's why this got higher. I love this movie nonetheless. I think it's obviously a great movie. It's a masterpiece of action filmmaking with art house, populated, filmmaking. It's great stuff, honestly. It's what I want in an action movie, honestly. And I hope we get more movies like this instead of the schlock of like Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom. What is that all about? But anyways, so of course that was my number 17. My number 16 is a very underrated movie. Easily one of my favorite westerns. And my number 16 is True Grit. Yes, I love this movie. What can I say? It's a movie that just, every time I watch it, I have a smile on my face. Yes, the ending is kind of sad melancholy, but at the same time, the movie has such a great dark sense of humor that I can't help but really appreciate with what they're going for. Also, Haley Steinfeld, she nailed the role. I thought it was one of her finest roles still to date. Actually, it is her finest. What am I saying? But it's one of the best, in my opinion, acting debuts. I believe it was her first movie, and she nailed it. Easily should have won the Oscar for this movie. Why aren't people talking about this more? It's an awesome movie. Annoys me. People should talk about it more. But that was my number 16. Number 15 is The Witch. One of my favorite horror movies. A24 also is the company behind this movie. And I think this is the movie where I realized what A24 was. And I started noticing this logo. And that's when I started realizing, oh wow, shoot, A24, they are very consistent with producing high quality movies. This is obviously a high quality movie. I mean, The Witch is a movie that, yeah, it didn't really register with audiences as much, but at the end of the day, I lean more towards critics anyways because I am a critic, and I agree with the critics with this one. It's an incredible movie. That's why it's at number 15. Number 14 is one of the best examples of the 5-act structure, and that's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Not gonna lie, this is not the last entry of a David Fincher movie that you're gonna see on this list. I love David Fincher. I love what he has to do with filmmaking, but he gave us a 5-act movie, and he also gave, in my opinion, a better remake. True Grit, I think, is also an example of on this list where not every remake's bad. True Grit was a great remake. This is also a great remake. I think this is better. And also True Grit, I think, is also better than the original. The thing is with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo also is that it ends on a note that I feel like if this was made nowadays, it wouldn't have ended this way. It ended on a note where it was ambiguous as if there was going to be a sequel. It wasn't like, okay, we're opening the door for a sequel. It was like, no. We're ending on a very serious, melancholy note. If there's a sequel, there's a sequel. But who cares? I mean, that ended up being a sequel, but I don't count it as a sequel because Daniel Craig, Rooney Mara, David Fincher, even Steve Zahn weren't involved. I don't count it as a sequel, personally. But great movie, and yeah, that's why it's so high. Number 13 is a movie that you can watch right alongside with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, honestly, and that's Prisoners. Yeah, Prisoners is number 13. Also, a very underrated movie. People don't talk about this movie enough. Yeah, thankfully it's on IMDb's top 250 now. And yeah, it did get an Oscar nomination when it came out. But truth be told, it's movies like these that make me love movies. I mean, it's a movie that really impacted me as I believe I was 17, 18. It's a movie that when I watched it, I felt very tight because of what it was going for. But it did so in such a very interesting way. One of the few movies that, when I was 17, I noticed about the ambiguous nature of people. This is one of the movies that introduced me to that, and I loved it. It's incredible. It's incredible filmmaking. And that is why it's number 13. Number 12 was a movie that the first time I saw it, and this is kind of a theme with some of these movies that are on my list, My number 12 is a movie I wasn't the biggest fan of the first time I saw it. I appreciated it for sure, but I didn't love it. Now I love it. Because each time I watch it, I love it more and more and more. Now it's in my top 12. My number 12 is The Master. Yeah, I know. I wasn't the biggest fan of this the first time I saw it, but again, it marinated really well with it. My favorite Joaquin Phoenix performance, honestly. Joker, yeah, it's probably going to win Best Actor at the Oscars, but you know what? At the end of the day, when people are like, oh, what's your favorite Joaquin Phoenix performance? I'll say The Master. And then people will be like, huh? Because most people don't know what this movie is. Which is a shame. It's an incredible movie. Check it out. Jeez. You haven't seen The Master. Watch it. My number 11 is The Grand Budapest Hotel. Now, the thing about this movie is I can't even lie. This is probably my favorite comedy. It's everything I want in a comedy. It's got, tight storytelling. I mean, it's a story within a story within a story. It's got that balance of comedy and drama that I love so in movies. Comedy, so often I criticize for being imbalanced, but this is a movie that's very well balanced. It's got a lot of great themes, great storytelling methods, but it's also a movie that makes you think. And for a comedy to do that while also at the same time making you laugh with its incredibly well-written dialogue, that's something to behold. And that's why this is a treasure to behold. My number 10, and this is a movie that you either like it, you got it, or you didn't get it. And my number 10 is Drive. Oh, Ryan Gosling killed it in this movie. Nicholas Winding Refn's directing is awesome. This movie did face a little bit of trouble in 2011. It was marketed as a Fast and Furious type movie when, if you've seen the movie, you know it's anything but that. So that's what I mean by you're either on board or you're not on board. You either got it or you didn't. Because, yes, I understand that marketing sometimes is misleading, but if you're able to look past that, this is an incredible movie. It's why I go to the movies. I wish I saw it in theaters, honestly. That's my number 10. My number 9 is a movie that so often in my lists of top movies, I always talk about rewatchability. This is a movie that, yes, I've rewatched probably half a dozen or so times now, but I don't want to. It's a movie that I almost hate watch. And my number 9 is 12 Years a Slave. When I say hate watch, I don't mean like, oh, it's a terrible movie. No, it's some of the finest filmmaking of the 2010s. Obviously, that's why it's my number 9. But it's a movie that makes me feel very unsettled. But in the best of ways, because it's a movie that this happened. This is a part of our history. And it's terrible that it happened. And this is a movie that should be shown in history classes because it shows the overall impact of this. And it's an incredible story, but it's hard to watch. It really is. Much in the same way as Schindler's List. It's not exactly a movie that you sit down and you watch and then you watch a couple months later. It's more like a movie you watch once a year, or once a year and a half, or a couple years. It's just because of the overall impact. It's still an incredible movie, though. I love it. That's why it's up there. It's in my top 10 of the decade. So that's my number 9. My number 8 is probably my favorite horror movie of the decade, and that is Hereditary. Yep. I love this movie. What can I say? This is why I see horror movies. Yeah, I love The Witch, but I think I like Hereditary a bit more, simply just because of how they executed it. On top of, I think that, yes, the final act is pretty similar. I mean, not overall, but like structure-wise, it is kind of similar to The Witch. But I don't know, I think it did a great job as well as The Witch. And on top of that, I think it does a really good job of getting Rosemary's Baby and making it essentially for modern day audiences, because it does take from that movie. But in the best of ways. I like Rosemary's Baby, but I think Hereditary is our generation's Rosemary's Baby. In the best of ways. This is an incredible movie. You should see it. Unless you don't like horror movies. In which case, you probably shouldn't watch it, because this movie will probably give you an anxiety attack. But for everyone else, watch it. So that's my number 8. My number 7 is still currently in theaters. It's coming out as I'm filming this, it's coming out in a couple days. But when I'm actually posting this video, it probably will already be out. But that's why I don't have a physical copy. I have pre-ordered it, and my pre-ordered movie is number 7, Parasite. Parasite was my favorite movie of 2019. I loved it, and just as all these other movies that are on my list, if you've already noticed, it's a totally perfect movie. It balances so many different themes, so many different genres in one cohesive movie. And it does so in a way that I feel like even your average person can watch it and appreciate it. I hope this wins at the Oscars for Best Picture. Probably not, but you know what? Screw me, right? it's still an incredible movie. I love it. And that is why it is my number 7. My number 6 is a movie that I love it personally, but I do know that there is like kind of some people that don't like it, but I personally love it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, obviously. That is Lincoln. So Lincoln is my number 6, and the thing is with Lincoln is that much in the same ways as some of the other movies, such as like True Grit or Skyfall, this is a movie that impacted me. It's a movie that I started noticing about cinematography. I was able to pick up on all the long takes when Daniel Day-Lewis would monologue. I noticed the incredible production design. I noticed the cinematography, not just with the with how they shot it in terms of like wide angle shots or like slowly panning into him, but I also noticed the color palette and how they utilized dark cinematography when there was dark times in America, and then when, spoiler alert, when the bill passes, they use bright cinematography to essentially emphasize the change in the cinematography matching the environment. It's incredible filmmaking for me personally. It's a movie that I get it if some people don't like because it is essentially a political drama, but I love it. I think it's a movie that really works for me, and I wish it won Best Picture in 2012, honestly, and that's why it's my number 6. My number 5 is Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049, this is what science fiction is all about. Yeah, I know, I love Ex Machina for sure, but Blade Runner 2049 is a movie that maybe a little bit, I don't know actually, I don't know which I like better, but Blade Runner 2049 is an awesome movie. My favorite movie of 2017, and honestly, it's a movie that, it's just like a fine wine, man. I know I use it all the time as an example, but it really is a fine wine. It doesn't get old. It gets better. And that's why it is my number 5. My number 4 is a movie that I'm so glad it won Best Picture. Truly, I was. My number 4 is Spotlight. Spotlight is yet another reason why I go to the movies. It is a journalist movie. It's a drama. It is a thriller in some aspects, but it's also a procedural movie. It's a movie that gets you in the minds of these writers and journalists, and it does so in a very impactful way. This movie changed me. It really impacted me, and I was so glad when it won Best Picture and upset The Revenant. I love The Revenant, but I love this a bit more, and that's why it is my number 4. Top 3, guys. Top 3. And I'm not going to lie, 2 of the movies in my top 3 are literally done by the same director. My number 3 is The Social Network. Wow, oh wow, oh wow. This movie came out in 2010, kicked off the decade, and it kicked off the decade in such a great way. Social Network is my second favorite David Fincher movie. It is my third favorite movie of the decade. This is what writing is all about. Fast, quick, snappy writing with incredible cinematography, perfect pacing, an ending that's really good, lingers on with you, and it's overall a very impactful movie. I really don't understand why some people are like, oh, it's overrated. I don't understand. Why are you a film critic if you can't appreciate the filmmaking at the very least? It's a movie that film critics and film buffs are able to appreciate because of its craftsmanship, man. For crying out loud, The Social Network has more CGI than probably Pacific Rim. But you can't tell because David Fincher is such a great filmmaker at rendering CGI in a movie in a seamless way. His VFX on point, man. And then it leads me to my number 2. So that was my number 3. My number 2 is a David Fincher movie that I liked more, and I didn't think that was possible. But that's right, Gone Girl. Gone Girl is my number 2 movie of the decade. Same thing applies, everything. I think it's a movie where it did well at the box office. It only got nominated for 1 Oscar, which is a shame, honestly. It's like, how? This movie is a masterpiece. But it's not just that. I think that overall, there are some people that detract from this movie's overall impact. And I think it's a shame. Because, again, the filmmaking, man. The filmmaking is incredible. Not even going to talk about the CGI in David Fincher because he makes it look incredible. I'm talking about it now. I know I said I would, but there are so many scenes. There's literally a scene where Tyler Perry, I know he's in this movie, but Tyler Perry, he literally throws like a gummy bear in Ben Affleck's character's mouth, and I didn't realize that was CGI. Behind the scenes, it was revealed to me, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's incredible. You wouldn't be able to tell, though, unless you see the behind the scenes. That's great CGI. And I'm not saying this movie is great just because of that. It's just something that overall is a little bit of a nugget addition. And that's why it's my number 2. But there's a movie that I thought was better than that. Better than the other, 48 movies that I mentioned. And that is La La Land. Well, that's right. La La Land is my number 1 movie of the decade. La La Land's a movie that was very impactful when I saw it. Since then, it's a movie that I look back and I appreciate. I really respect. And also, La La Land, it's so enjoyable, man. What can I say?
It's not the one you chose.
What?
Sir. Moonlight. Moonlight's the one you chose. Remember?
Oh, oh, guys, there's been a mistake. La La Land's not the best movie of the decade. No. Oh, Moonlight. You want the best movie of the decade? Moonlight is the best movie of the decade, guys. It was the best movie of 2016. Won at the Oscars. It's the best movie of the decade for me. Much in the same way as The Master. It's a movie that I watched it, I appreciated it, but I didn't love it. It wasn't until rewatching it that I fully appreciated it and I was immersed. Every single time I watch Moonlight, I get more and more immersed in the storytelling. I get more and more immersed in the filmmaking. And overall, it's a movie that lingers on. It's hard to watch in some cases because of what it's dealing with. So yeah, I love this movie. I mean, what can I say? There's not much else I can say. I have a review of it on my channel, obviously. But guys, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What is your top 50 films of the decade? And if you haven't seen that many movies, just condense it. What's your top 10 favorite movies of 2010 to 2019? Let me know the thoughts in the comment section below. Yours is going to be different than mine, so I am very curious to hear your guys' thoughts. And as always, I really do appreciate you guys watching, and thank you for watching part 1, hopefully, and part 2 now. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.